We'll call the Price County meeting of Forestry and Parks, Buildings and Grounds to order.
Good morning, Michelle Drobnik.
Here.
Jeff Hallstrand.
Here.
Jason Hastings.
Here.
Jordan Spacek.
Here.
Patricia Stephen.
Here.
All are present. Thank you.
All right, beautiful. Public comments and communication. Do we have anything? Steve is here to talk about an agenda item later, so we'll address him then. Hearing none. Minutes from our last meeting, with the exception that we didn't approve the vouchers, but they all went around again, so.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Michelle,
I'll second.
second by Jason. All those opposed or approve? All those in favor?
Yay.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next meeting is scheduled, so June 3rd, first Tuesday of the month. Buildings and Grounds, Josh. Project updates, which kind of covers everything below that.
Pretty much. Good morning. Our biggest, I guess what we just finished up was getting the HR office finally completed. We got the furniture in, and Laura and Jennifer are now in their new office, so that's complete and up and running.
Beautiful.
Yeah, awesome. Had some jail repairs, quite a few jail repairs, some plumbing issues over there that we've taken care of this last month. This week, our big project is we got repainting and updating the Park Falls outreach office for the health department. They had acquired a grant, I guess, to do some updating. So we're up there painting. We started that yesterday. So as soon as we're done here, we'll head back up there. Otherwise, we're got all our equipment, cleaning that up and converting it over to summer. I'm assuming we should be done plowing snow and everything for the.
Hope so.
Hope so. Quarterly PMs were accomplished in April. And yeah, so that's about it for. I guess upcoming, talking about the jail repairs and sheriff's department repairs. We do have some piping that needs to be redone over there. That's some copper lines that need to be replaced in the basement, and unfortunately it runs kind of through the evidence room, so it's kind of a logistics nightmare, I guess, to figure that out. But we're looking at a June time frame. I've been working with the sheriff on that, so that will accomplish in-house. We'll take care of that, but that's planned for. I'm shooting for June time frame. So
when you replace that, will you use PEX so you can reroute it, or?
We've talked about that. I guess that's still the planning stages. There is a lot of water lines in that room, so that's one of the issues. Yeah, it'd be nice to get those out of there, but that's in this planning phase, I guess. So
Okay.
Is that for the boiler project?
nope, that's just the regular potable water
Okay.
for the whole building. So there's where it actually comes in, and that hot water heater is kind of that next room over. Or it's a utility room is the next room over for that. So it kind of comes up and straight through the ceiling of that evidence room.
Did we have a leak in there or something?
We've had multiple leaks, and as I've repaired them the last couple of years, I see where the maintenance before me has repaired some sections in there also. So it's kind of time to just go ahead and
I would agree.
yeah, replace all the lines. So
Done that when we did the jail upgrade.
Why are they leaking?
That's a good question. Yeah, that's one. I don't know if it was a bad batch of copper,
Solder.
or originally, and that, it's pinhole leaks, and it's just in that section. I haven't noticed that hasn't come up in any other part of the building except that one room. So
The worst room it could be in.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
Okay, department update, that kind of covers that too. Financial reports, you must need some type of money. Or no?
always asking for money, right?
I guess,
They're just on file.
huh?
The financial reports are just.
It's on file, yeah. Once you come through with the vouchers. Boiler system update and exhaust.
Okay, we talked a little bit about that at the last meeting. We got a little bit more. We had a meeting with Jamar this last week to kind of get a little bit more of the numbers down. And this is the one we talked about reventing through the trash chute all the way up to the penthouse.
Yep.
If you recall. So our preliminary numbers back on that, we're looking at somewhere between 180 to 200.
And that
Wow.
we've been, so it's to do with the piping we had talked about where there's no issues with employee health or anything like that. It's just there's condensation, which is rusting out some of the conduit or the piping. The problem is we can't get it up to the roof properly. So when they put them in, what was it, in 2011,
Yes.
12,
Yeah,
2011, 12, whenever it was, they put them in, they just connected to some of the old chimney, which wasn't probably the best decision. So that's what's causing a lot of this condensation buildup. So when we look at it, the problem is the boilers are 10 years old. So we have 10 more years probably of usable life in the boilers. If we do this project where we fix the ventilation and go up through the trash chute, get it all prepared, we'll be able to use it in 10 years when we replace the boilers. However, at what point do we limp along for a little while and then just do a boiler project and get it all done at once and you're up to date? Do you do nothing? This one's turned into, it's getting to the point of the money. What do you do? Because it's 200,000 where we just put 2 brand new boilers over in the normal building. It was, I think, 240,000. So we're talking just venting, not getting updated equipment.
So that 180 to 200 did not include new boilers. That was just,
Correct.
just
Right.
that venting up through the trash.
Right. So when we had
Seems like a lot.
That's too much.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the cost to go up through that pipe, and because it's rebuilding it all, there's a ton of IT that has to be moved. So there's a lot of cost in that. So that's the main trunk for all of our IT for the building. And so they have to build a protective wall between the cords and the ventilation. We talked about one of the options was if we replace our boilers and move them to the other side of the room, we could go right out the side wall and not have to go up through the ceiling. The problem with that is you're creating potential for ice on the side of your building and on your sidewalks outside with the condensation. So right now that project is, I wouldn't say paused. We're trying to look at all the options because there is not a
It's different than the normal building where it was easy to just vent
Replace it.
out a few feet right out the back,
and it goes into a grass area.
It
with
was
no parking.
simple and easy, and this is a little bit different here, being that there's the location of everything and how the walkway is right there behind the building.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
I guess the question is, how long can we limp it along and still be safe? I don't expect an answer, but I guess that's something to look at.
I
because
agree, and
I
that's
think-
what we've been
I
talking.
think we should
with,
do it all.
and-
Sounds to me like at least initially, we should do it all at once. Or
And-
otherwise we're paying twice.
Right. And so I asked the question, like, so if we did this $200,000 or $175,000 project, what percent of it would be wasted when we redo like if we had to redo boilers, what can be reused? What would we have to do? Blah, blah, blah. And they figure about 60 to 80% would be usable with the new boilers, right? There's going to be some of it with the stainless steel that you're not going to use. So that's 40% of the project is getting from the boiler to the wall where the new chimney is. So there's that cost that is a sunk cost. So out of the 200,000 you're losing in 10 years, you'd lose $40,000 to $80,000.
So I guess my concern there would be a little bit more when you talked about the IT use is that,
The
I mean,
chase.
it would be nice to just get away and not have to have TJ or Melissa to move all that stuff, because that's not.
Yeah, it's not moving it, it's securing it
Protecting it,
in
yeah.
a safe, a heat resistant divide. And that's where the big cost really came in is it's a confined space. You're going between 3 levels. We have tons of wires there. And so what they do is they push them all to one side and then build a fireproof wall. And then they put
Little
I
chase.
can't remember, it
for
was
that.
like a 28 inch, or there's a tube that they have to use a crane because it's so heavy that they slowly ratchet it, pull it up from the top, one piece at a time from the bottom. But then inside of that is where the 3 pipes would go. That would be for the boilers in the future. 2 now, 1 for the future.
And that's part, putting that into future planning so that there's enough room in that chase so that it is accommodating
And
any
then
future upgrades.
There was also, once you get to the roof, it's not just venting out. You have to move an air handler because it comes right up where air handler is. And then you have to build like a outside. So we have the penthouse, this building on top of the building right now. It has a lot of our air handling and everything. You'd come out of that, but then you have to build something outside of it that's insulated, that doesn't create condensation from the heat. And it added up when you start.
Sounds
properly
like
doing
it needs a lot more research, that we're talking ourselves out of not doing the big project now. But Mr. Spacek, you had a question?
Jason had his hand up first.
Oh.
Go ahead, Jason.
Since we're in the state we are we able to get a second look at it, a second estimate? At least at that kind of price tag?
Well, we have Hutari looked at it. We had Jamara look at it. So there's
Okay.
2 groups working on it.
Okay.
Hanson and North.
Do we look at like
Comfort.
Tweed Garrow out of Tomahawk? It was Mechanical Incorporated.
We have not looked at them.
I would give them a call. But also what's the age of the boilers? I forget.
2011.
Okay. And how much is a new boiler?
Well, we did 2 of them for $240, but that was
Okay.
simple venting outside.
Yeah, I know, but I for 180,000, I think I'd rather stick money into putting in new furnaces and ducting it that way and worrying about having to put some salt on the sidewalk in the winter,
Yeah.
I mean, this sounds like a major headache that's going to be nothing but a headache moving forward.
And that's why
ducting
we
it
brought
up.
it up. That's why we brought it up on Wednesday.
I'm not like Jason said, that's a ridiculous number. I hate to say
Have we
that.
looked at funding sources? Are there grants available, or looked at when Forestry go over there repays the ARPA money we borrowed him for Soberg? Can we earmark that for it?
Yeah, there's a.
Have we
couple
looked at
different
any
ones.
options? I mean, obviously it's gonna,
That's already spoken for though.
Yeah,
That's
it's
gonna
off.
get covered by the carbon credits.
Right, to pay back the county
I think so.
so that we have it for other projects.
yeah, but I mean, it's spoken for, but it's just to pay back the county.
Yeah.
Once the county gets it back into the general fund, that hasn't been officially allotted yet that I know of.
That's speculation. We don't even know if we're gonna get paid.
Well, you're right. Yeah, I'm not
So-
there to disagree.
We have like 10 years of life in these boilers we got right now, right?
That's what the estimated. They're good for 15 to 20 total, and we're on year 12, I think,
12,
13.
13.
I think they were
14.
2012 made, is what's on the side of them. Yeah, that we brought it up. Do we get 2 new ones? Do we get 3 smaller ones? Can we vent out the side? They are looking at those numbers to see what they would be. It's just hard to give up 10 years of life on a something that works.
But it's hard to give up $180,000 on a vent.
On a
No.
temporary fix.
Yeah,
That we know we're
yeah.
gonna spend 200
I'd rather put that 180,000 towards a new boiler unit that will get us 20 years versus a vent that's going to get us 4 to 6 or 7, and then only be able to, use 60% of it in that time frame. So then it's another.
And that's
60
only
to
if we can
80,000.
vent. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
only if we can vent outside, like out the side of the building. If we look at moving to the other side of the room and it because of code for electrical or code for whatever it might be, We may still need to have that vent, right? That's just part of the design process and figuring out where we can.
Let's just use a jail cell and pipe the heat over here.
Well, we talked about putting the boilers in a different location. So we talked about putting them down either in Josh's office or the surveyor's office, or
Yeah.
it's not Embrace anymore, but what's the workforce development? We looked at like, so then we could pipe them straight out the side of the building. We'd have it at a different location. Problem is with that corner of the building, that's where our gas comes in. And so it's like sacred space for a gas meter. It's 3 feet on each side, all the way up to the moon. So you can't do anything near that. Josh's side creates a problem with all the general piping because now you're on the complete opposite side of the building. We looked at the old tourism office. That one would be great for venting, but again, you're creating $100,000 in hard piping to get to connect to where it is now for the boiler portion of it. The ultimate thing you could do, the best of the best, is actually put the boilers on your roof, and then it's that way there's no gravity pressure on the piping. So if you were to design a new building today, you actually put your boilers on the top floor rather than the bottom floor. But I don't see that being a viable, we'd have to build another unit on top of the building, and I don't
What
see
did
it worth it.
Jamar just do recently for 4,000 plus?
That was just going over the boilers that we have
the
here.
maintenance, the yearly
Yeah.
maintenance.
Oh, it was inspection and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
It wasn't repair
fixed a
related
couple-
to this.
a lot of cleaning and everything else. Yeah, it wasn't related to, yeah.
What was his comments about the corrosion on those pipes?
They've known that we've been talking and discussing this for, that's kind of where we've gotten to this point, is looking at revamping it, because it's been just a slow process, and you see how they are now. I think we showed the pictures the last time, and that outside housing is just completely rotting away.
I guess I think we need to just have several options on the table, and I agree with what Jordan said and what we've discussed here, that it seems like if we spend $180,000 to $200,000 now on a Band-Aid, maybe we're better off to bite the bullet and spend $250,000 and be done.
Yeah, I think in a future meeting too, we might want to invite Todd and John, or at least Todd Grant, the
Right.
people that are working on this, to kind of give you, because they're the ones that are seeing it. They know what's the equipment's going to do, how long it's going to last, and
It's a good idea, Nick.
Yeah,
options
I
are.
think so. I think bring 2 vendors in at least to share their insight on it. Not that we don't trust what Josh is telling us here, but
I'd still like to see some contact to somebody outside, because
Yeah.
like I said, Jamar has been good working with us for a few years, but it doesn't hurt to keep them on the edge of their seat once in a while.
Just listening to all this, not knowing anything about boilers, scotch tape that, duct tape this, wrap that. I say, and the things are going to go wrong no matter what. And then we're spending more money on that. You see what a house in Phillips looks like when they've added on here and then added on here and added on here. And I say spend it all at once and get something new and do it right. Just an opinion.
yeah. So we'll explore that a little bit and have some more options before we make any drastic decisions here.
So, I mean, is it not an option just to replace the corroded pipes to make it last the 10 years?
We can't get that anymore. That's the problem. Yeah, that was the initial, let's just replace this small section of pipe that's corroding. It's not going to stop what
Condensation.
cause it. Yeah, the condensation that's causing it. And then I brought up, like, it's just when the barometric pressure changes and those, depending on the temperature and everything else, you can hear that.
Downdraft.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, you can hear it like from my shop across it sounds like a train coming through the building. It's, yeah.
We know that.
Are you sure there are more
Like I
trains
said, it's
now?
not, I'm sorry, what's that?
There are more trains now. Are you
Yeah,
sure?
right. Yeah.
24/7 train going by this building.
Yeah. Not coming through the courthouse anyway. But I mean, that's just kind of, not that that's a reason to spend this kind of money. I'm not saying that, you know what I mean? But, it's just, it's the venting itself is not where it should have been. And so, yeah,
I
we
got
got to
one.
look at all the options. I mean, that's quite a sticker price. I get it. I thought the same thing. So,
Jason?
I know Hanson's is able to customize HVAC stuff, and you spoke with them.
Hanson's is no longer Hanson's. They sold out. now.
Oh,
It's all Badger Heating now.
okay.
They just sold last
I'm
week.
just saying they had the ability to customize stuff like that. And what's so different about the pipe that they're not able to buy new? Or
I think it's the rating, is my understanding, is the level that it has to be code
Gotcha.
for industrial.
sure,
And that's probably the hardest part, is a lot of the individuals that work around here, they're home or non-commercial. So we'll reach out. What'd you say, Tom?
and it's sleeves that actually fit together in a certain way.
Right, a double
So
wall
it's
type.
like, you know, building a Lego block and not having the Lego pieces anymore to be able to do that.
All right, well, we beat this one up a little bit. Yep.
One more thing and then I'll stop.
Okay.
But I'd be interested to see an actual quote for what it would be for up on the roof, like if it was a new system and you just did it up there.
Yeah, and we're having them work up right now. Like, do we need 2 boilers, 3 boilers? Because if you look at the sizing now, like we actually have the history of our boilers downstairs. So the original boiler looked like a big freight train, right? It was a big steam, looks like a big barbecue pit if you want to look at it, but it's just huge. And then the 2 new ones are probably the size of a dumpster that you'd see outside. And then you go over to the
When
normal.
he says new ones, that's the 2011 model.
Yeah.
And you go look at the 2 over in the normal building, and they're size of like a dorm refrigerator. It's like just this little tiny thing on a sitting there. So we don't. We asked them. There's an option to do 3 boilers, and then keep 2 of them running all the time, so you're more efficient, because then I don't know, they had some formula. Or do you do 2 really big ones? And then you only have one running, and then the other one's just popping on and off so it's not always as healthy, but it might be a better option. So they are working on that. I can ask them, what would it cost to get them up on the roof and do it that way. I would think the engineering problem here would be, can our roof support it? So.
you gotta power it anyway. So let's go into the next thing.
Yep. Yeah, right. We're gonna move on to the next item. We'll get more information, more options.
Keep working on it, sure.
Yeah, all right. Electrical panel, another ancient.
I've got no new updates on that. We talked about that a little bit last time. I'd like to get that scheduled in the budget, I guess, here, because like I said before, Nick's got a picture here so you guys can actually see what I'm referring to, I guess, when I say the switch gear. But the preliminary numbers on that we got from Peeper. So that's the unit there. That's the main power comes in from outside into that before that branches off into all of the sub panels throughout the entire building. So each one of those is, when I talk about a bucket, we replaced one of those buckets. Actually, where Nick's cursor is right there is the one we replaced. That.
Red on it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was, like I said, I think it was a $2,000 repair just to get that bucket, which is a refurb unit. I guess you can't get these anymore even. So, and that was the last one that Peeper could actually get. The one that's just below that it's working. That controls the elevator rooms. It's working, but it's not working correctly. So it's making contact right now. But if I have to replace a fuse, I can't guarantee that it's going to work after I open that up and replace the fuse, is what it amounts to, if that makes sense. So I guess with that said, again, I was trying to bring this up because this could be last a year, 5 years, we could be just fine. But it's something to think about, because that's a major issue where if that goes down, I mean, and I can't get the parts for it, we're out for quite a while. So,
And this is a big project to replace this thing.
yes.
I mean,
And we could potentially lose another $12,000 pump. right?
exactly.
Yeah,
Or anything. I mean,
anything that goes up.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, it was the $2,000 fuse plus a $12,000 pump. I mean, it does start to
Correct.
add up.
Plus, we thought we lost the air conditioner in the
Yep.
IT
IT
room,
room.
which would have
Oh,
been
yeah.
another 20 grand.
And,
But
and yeah, I mean, that
Yeah.
could be disastrous all on its own, not having AC in there. So yeah, I think this thing would be a priority to,
And to just to get a new switch gear, I think it was several months out even just to from the time you order it before they could even get it. So I mean, it's not like it goes out and then just throw a new one in tomorrow, you know.
yeah, that's
So-
a pretty complicated panel right there. I mean, it's not just go to Home Depot and buy it.
That's a lot
Panel.
of voltage going in there,
Yeah.
and yep, a lot of
What's the plan right now if that elevator switch goes out? Do we have,
Stairs?
Stairs.
well, obviously, do
Um,
we
that-
have in-house any
like I said,
parts
this-
that you can, depends on, I suppose, what
Yeah,
breaks,
and
but
like I said, this is beyond my capability. I mean, this is an
Yeah.
actual like Peeper Electric needs to come
Okay.
in and so I've been working closely with them, and hopefully they can get in here and maybe get that bucket to work
So-
like just like we did with the last one.
it's kind
you
of
know,
an unknown.
you try to make it work as long as you can until you can get the parts. So
Have we actually got?
fortunately, we got
a
the parts
quote?
for that one, but we
for this
can't
one?
get any more parts. That's what, so that's the problem.
yeah,
I'm
so
sorry.
Do we actually have a quote for replacing this then?
Yes. What I got from Peeper, that's 108. And that's for the panel and their work. The only thing that additional would be we'd have to get a crane in here to get that in, get the old one out, get the new one into the basement. And so preliminary, 20 to 25, just for that crane. So
yeah,
talking
we
about
figured
130.
120 to 125 full project.
yeah,
Carrie and I have been talking about, is this a capital project? Do we put it on next year's borrowing? So right now we're working through what the budget looks like next year, and where we would recommend the funding from. But I think from talking to Josh, talking to Peeper, talking to Jamar, everybody, this kind of took priority over the,
vending.
venting. So I think this will be the one we'll see the resolution for. Here's what our recommendation is. Here's where what money we should use before we would actually do anything with the ventilation. Cause that's still working. It's just getting to a point of something needs to be done.
So this would be an item that it's getting late we wouldn't want to do this in the wintertime. I mean, cause we could live without AC if something happened for a little while, but if we had to live without heat in the winter, it could be disastrous. But I mean, that's just knowing a little bit about the electrical stuff. That's not a come in at midnight and switch it over and be done.
That's-
And this is
Saturday.
this is an all weekend type of project
Correct. Yeah.
to switch this out. So, I mean, I would think this would fall under a capital improvement project. But
Yeah,
but we'll
it
figure
fits
that out
under all of them.
executive.
It's just what's the best utilization of the funding we
Funds,
have
yeah.
available. But yeah, so Carrie and I will work on that resolution with Josh to say, here's what we recommend. You guys would have to recommend the project. Executive would have to recommend
it.
the funding. The full board would have to recommend the full project. So even if we hurried through that, we're talking in July, August for all those resolutions. Once we know that it's kind of getting moving, we'll probably talk to Peeper to get some of this stuff on order. Cause I can't remember if this was the 8 to 12 months or 6 to 8 months. We've been working on some other projects too, that a lot of them have a timeline that it's not like, cool, we have it tomorrow available. So
I think, and this is just me saying to the committee, I think we should prioritize this project and move it forward because that could leave us really in a bad spot.
one other thing I want to include in this project is we have so like the key cards to get into doors. Right now, our basement door technically has public access. So we want to add, it's like $2,500 to have that door go onto a key card. So then not everybody would have access to it. So it would secure better. I mean, our IT's already secured by that, but it would then secure all the boilers, the electrical, the air handlers downstairs, the incinerator. It's just one of those that we just never have done. We should get on that. So then we know who's in and out and when.
No, I would agree. And I think this should get pushed forward so that we don't get caught with our
And-
pants down.
Yeah, and along with that, like we talked about the pumps already also, or the pump that did go up because of this problem. We're working with insurance right now to see if we can get that pump replaced, so that's in the works.
Was that our fault or the?
That was because of this.
Real
pandemic.
That's because of that, so.
Kind of a brownout situation.
Yeah,
Where
so
it
the
was running on.
3-phase went out, was running on 2-phase, it burned up. So we're on our backup pump right now. So right now it sounds like insurance is working with us and we'll replace the pump, but we also want to add the VFD to it so that it shouldn't
Doesn't
happen in
happen
the
again.
future. So that'd be like $2,500 of what we would have to come up with above and beyond the insurance claim. Even if we don't get an insurance claim, we got to fix it. It's our primary pump. So we're just waiting for the finalized
Yeah.
info.
If you're able to put estimates in our package too, that help us. Is that okay?
Yeah, I think that's fine. We can have
Okay.
something for.
Yeah, a
next
lot of
meeting.
times like Peeper just calls and says it's going to be 108. It's not like, because they don't put the time and effort into it until we're saying, okay, we're doing
We're
the
gonna do it.
project. Then they start planning it out. They just say here in general, it's going to be about this. So we can get itemized quotes once we're closer to the project.
All right, let's work towards that. We talked about the old treasures room. I think unless Josh, you have anything else you'd like to,
Nope, that's done. That's the only
Hold on us.
good news I have for today. So,
beautiful.
sorry.
Yeah. All right.
You've kind of been a broken record.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem of being a maintenance guy. All you got to do is talk about stuff that's broken.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, you can go if you like or
All right.
stay if you'd like.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Forestry and Parks. Joe. First topic is Goldberg Lake Campground expansion update and bid results. It kind of is a repeat from last month, but you can kind of give us an update as to where we're standing. It sounds like things are happening.
Yeah, the dirt work started on Thursday. They moved in after the bands were pulled. So they're working away. That's the basic stuff that's going on right now because they got to get stuff stumped and cleared before. I met with the guy doing the septic system water lines yesterday and kind of went over stuff, and he figured he'd give him a couple of weeks to get ahead so that he can put his stuff in. Same electric is going to stop by later this week to kind of get the game plan a little bit and figure out what's going on. Price Electric's out there right now looking at it as well to get their where they're going to put their peds and get that all figured out. So it sounds like they got to move up. One of the power poles are going to move over to get a little more clearance on the driveway there. So he was talking about that as well. So
I got a question.
Moving along nicely then. Go ahead, Jason.
We ended up going with that company out of Minocqua Grading or whatever, right? I was concerned about that bid as somebody who bids. There was $100,000 difference between the low bid and the high bid. Why? It's like nobody understood that bid. Is that normal that they're that big of a range or?
Sometimes, yeah, be the same. Did you look at the plumbing and water and sewer?
No.
Yeah, there was.
They were all,
That was even a bigger.
there was a
gap.
wide range on all of them. I was
Okay.
actually blown away
So
by
that's
that.
normal. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of depends on how hungry a person is for work.
Sure.
You know, sometimes I would imagine each
Well-
person wants to make a different rate too. So it's tough to
They just
tough to
moved in,
tell.
right?
You know, we have the same thing on timber sale bids will
Only
be coming out
30,000
next.
100.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
timber sale bids will come out next, and you'll see that too, where
Yep.
it's
That's what I was
it's
just saying. I
amazing the
mean, timber
difference.
bids, there's, the first one I'm looking at is, there's $33,000 difference in
We,
one job.
we see that a lot too on Evans bids for bridges. Like, is it Lemke? No, not Janik will do like the bridge for like 100, and then the one out of Marshfield's always like $60,000-$70,000 more, and then there's one out of Eau Claire that's $100,000 more. So, just happens to be if you got your equipment in the area, if mobilization costs, your crew costs, where you're located. But we do see pretty big swings on construction.
Okay.
If there's bidders, like
And I
highway
do-
doesn't get a lot of, asphalt, you get one bidder.
And what it really boils down to a lot of is how hungry the contractors are for work at the time that the bids go out. And that's why a lot of times in my past history too, the timing of the year that you put your bids out and how much work people have, they're going to bid more aggressively if they don't have any work versus if they got their plate full, well, we'll throw a high bid in.
The other thing we see, we make sure we do is we vet the bidder. So for example, on this project, was it electrical, Joe? There was a spot where like everybody else bid the 100 feet from the road to the PEDs or the original, where the low bidder, it was like, you're off by X dollars. Well, they missed that portion. So we double check with them. Yep. Yeah, that would have been extra. Now you're in line with them. They're still ended up being the lowest bidder, but that we do clarify bids. So the dirt one, it's hard to say. Somebody put 10 loads versus 2 loads. That's
So
I was out there last night and they got a lot done in 3 days. It's
in the
it's
way
very
that
impressive for just getting in there on Thursday and whatnot. And they got a slew of equipment there. It's impressive. You should take a ride out there on your way home. It's pretty unique.
Any other questions about Solberg Lake?
So I guess they'll put all the roads in first and then electric and sewer will go.
right.
Okay.
So they're gonna
So they'll do
a
like
little
the
bit of
road- they'll do the
communication there
road base
because
and everything.
Yeah, because some of that they want to get some of the lines in before they do base course and things like that.
Sure.
So just kind of that communication is going to have to happen a little
Yeah.
bit that way, and timing.
Do
with
they
that, but-
did they give you a tentative idea of what they think it'll take time wise?
Kind of, but
Yeah.
that weather dependent
Sure,
on
yeah.
everything. If it, the
Yeah.
good thing is that ground is really good as
Yeah.
far as dealing with rain and that kind
So
of thing.
all the piles of stumps that are pushed up, are they gonna haul them to that hole that we have?
So I actually there's a spot where the town used to have a gravel pit, and we actually cut that open.
Sure.
And we're gonna fill that.
Sure.
And then when we have more, then we'll move to the next site. And
Sure.
We'll bury them over there. So that's kind of the plan right now, is to use that site as a spot. We were gonna bury them, dig deeper into that pit, but we were creating a swimming pool by digging a hole. We're
Sure.
already at water. So
Oh yeah, the east end of it, the large open area, is that gonna be that big of a field area, or does it just look that big from the road?
it's
I mean, it seemed like
looks bigger than
when their
it
equipment
is,
was
but-
parked there last night when we went by. I was like, "Holy smokes, that's
yeah, it looks
it's-
bigger than it is.
okay."
Yeah.
It looked.
It-
I
it
mean,
will-
hey, put a football field out there. Let them play games on Friday nights. I guess
It looks
you know?
it looks bigger at this point because we cut. That's where that pit is.
Oh,
right
that's where that-
behind there.
oh,
So
okay.
it actually expands that back a
Sure,
little
sure.
bit.
Okay, so that must not be what I was
Yeah.
able to see. Sure.
Didn't look as big on Friday before it was cut, but
Yeah.
we cut that back out, so then you can see skyline behind.
Sure. And who did the logging there? Who was in there?
Kessler did the Kessler Logging did
They did that
the-
job.
whatever it is there. I scaled it yesterday, and that
Sure.
on that we do when we have small stuff like that, we'll direct sell, and it was who can get it done and
Mhm.
move in on Thursday and get it done in a couple days. So
Yep.
Well, good. I plan on driving out to look at it when we're done here today. So encourage everybody.
Put your 4-ways on and drive around like I did the other day. You know?
All right. Let's move on to spring timber sale bids. Let's see, we had 5 no sales.
There's some highs and lows on this one. That's impressive. To have 5 no bids and still be over total was impressive.
A lot of that's due to pine.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, because the one is 70,000 was the assessed or advertised value, and it came in at 204. That's quite a difference.
Yeah. Yeah, and the difference that no bids were just access to those spots or access.
That where is the 525, Joe? Where is that bid or that site? I didn't look back in the old packet.
That's Red Pine clear cut in Camp 5 area.
Okay, that's out in Lugerville, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's I mean, there's a, for instance, Jason, again, there's $48,000 in difference from bottom bid to top bid there. So
And I would assume that that wood's gonna ultimately end up at Bell Timber anyway, right? For poles that they,
Yeah, I don't know who even, if that was Bob that TNT bid that one. Is that who got
yeah,
it?
that was
Yeah.
TNT Timber
TNT.
Improvements.
TNT cuts for all 3 of the other guys behind him, or well, I
Right.
don't know. Buer didn't bid it, I guess, but the other ones.
well, that would
the
have
other
been
ones did,
Whittle of
so.
Oscar, would have been a brewer bid. Any questions about any of the bids or you've obviously, it'd be interesting. Probably on your other sheets you had on there, good access, poor access. But
Yeah, I mean, you got the 5 that didn't bid, and some of those are just, the 1924. Probably if you spent 20,000 in gravel, you'd get 40,000 out of the sale. But we've gone over that a bunch of times.
Yeah,
We don't.
I
don't
think
do that, so.
everybody's on board that us making improved roads into these sales.
Right.
pays
We
off.
we
Can't do
don't have,
'em all.
you don't have any money to do it, so then you can't. So that's
Right.
the downfall.
Yep.
So those ones will, hopefully we can pedal them away. So
Well, to still come in overall at 17% over our minimum bid is interesting. I mean, the wood market is kind of in a really funny area. Would you agree right now as to what could happen? I mean, guys don't want to speculate that Canada's not going to ship us any wood and things are going to go gung ho, but
yeah,
it could, or it could go the other way. So I would think that, if things start picking up, you'll probably get people coming in talking about your no bid sales.
yeah. Usually people call, inquire at least. See.
Well, good.
You want a motion to approve that then? Okay, I'll make
Yeah.
a motion to approve the spring timber sale bid results
Except, yeah.
or accept. Yeah.
I got a question.
Okay.
Before we approve, how come we're approving this, but we're not approving the dirt work?
That was at last month's meeting.
Yeah, but no, it got approved without us.
Yeah.
We don't
Well,
approve.
these
bids.
are awarded as well.
What's the difference though?
State statute. So under state statute, we don't approve individual bids. You guys approve a budget, which falls within those bids. This is because it's a timber sale. You do it for a couple grants. There's highway has a requirement. Was it LRIP or S? What you guys did it last meeting? One of the highways, there's a
LRIP.
certain,
LRIP,
is it
yeah.
LRIP that statutorily have to be approved or be in the minutes. It's not really an approval, just has to be presented and in the minutes. So,
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Like the highway commissioner, is he the one that makes all the decisions for the
correct.
asphalt and
Yep.
stuff?
Yep. They follow state statute, so it has to be the lowest responsible bidder. It has to do all kinds of stuff. But yeah, there's a process in place. for
Okay.
that.
Back in the day when I was in the city council, we took the lowest responsible bidder as to what we thought, and the city is still paying for that issue with Jake's
Gotcha.
Landscaping and Excavating out of Hurley. So
So the-
sometimes it does kick back.
I could understand
um,
why.
And I raised that red flag question to our engineer at the time when I was on city council. And he's like, oh, they did a great job up in Red Cliff. And Red Cliff had nothing but good things to say. And so we went with it, and lo and behold, it backfired. So unfortunately, some circumstances it does fall bad and
I'm still
Most
learning
of-
that, so I'm just.
yeah, most of the time it is good. And like I said, hopefully everything's good.
All right, we have a motion by Jordan to approve, to accept the spring bid results.
I'll second.
Second by Michelle. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Do you want to take 2 seconds?
Carried.
So with the no bids, there is an option for loggers to come in and say, I want that.
Yeah, so
They
so
just
the
gotta pay
way
the minimum, right?
right, so it used to be it had to be advertised twice, and then they changed statute to allow for just one bid session. So now at this point, a person could come in after the meeting and say, I'll take that for minimum bid. So then they
But like
Basically
1924, I
filled
think this is the third time, right? Or fourth time?
second.
Was it? Oh, I
think
feel like it's been more than that.
I think second.
No,
Maybe it was a spring last year, but I
Yeah, I thought it was spring, fall, and now spring again.
Yeah,
Maybe not.
could have been, but
could have been.
somewhere in there.
Sure.
We don't have a lot of outstanding ones that people haven't picked up, so.
1924.
It's the only one,
Yeah.
yeah. Which is good. All right, reauthorize Wisconsin DNR ATV trail grant resolution.
So every few years we have to redo these. The ATV program is a 100% paid for out of the ATV funds. That money comes from registrations on the ATVs. Basically, this pays for the maintenance for the ATV trails that we, like Price County ATV Association does the maintenance on. And also if we do any trail development work, that's where this funding comes from as well. So.
Thank you. Any questions about that, Joel?
Thanks.
Yep.
There's my concern again. It says submit the application for any financial aid. I don't think it should just be any financial aid. I think we should open it first, personally. Because there's strings attached to stuff that maybe we don't want. I don't know.
Well, I think when you're applying for grants, you normally come to us that you're applying for a grant.
The ATV ones, like the maintenance, this is the same as Con Aids. We just do it every year. We can come every year and you guys can approve it. Have another meeting on it. That's up to you guys.
Right. This isn't giving us permission to just go and do any project or get it. It's saying that this is the responsible party for
Submitting
submission.
the application.
So say there was a trail grant, Joe would bring that to the committee saying, I want to go above and beyond what we normally do to get this trail grant. Or we have some that we do every year, but here's the ones we want. The committee would say yay or nay. And then he under this would submit it. So this isn't giving.
For instance, we just did one. Smith Lake Trail is closed right now. The boardwalk is, somebody fell through it last year. Well, didn't fall through it, drove through it. We didn't come here to ask to replace that. We just wrote the grant. It's 100% paid for. And usually on those type of maintenance type things, that's what we've done in the past. Definitely can come in and ask to replace the thing and open it back up.
So those are the yearly available ones that here's projects we're working on, but it's if we went above and beyond, that's
Right.
when they come forward to say, here's what we want to do.
Do you have an idea, Joe, what the general dollar amount is?
Maintenance wise, it's like 46,000 a year.
Okay.
It's we get like $1,000 a year per mile for ATV. It's kind of funny because our road aids we get like 350,
Yeah.
and ATV trail gets 1,000. So,
Okay.
but
Interesting.
so that's, and then there's winter money that goes into that also because some of those are ATV,
'Cause of
snowmobile.
Sure.
Sure.
So like the Pine Line and some of those are open down there. The Flambeau Trail system, that money's then
This is.
it's an in-out account
Tuscobee is part of
basically.
this?
Yeah, well, no, our section of the
Ours
Tuscobia.
is,
So the Tuscobia State Trail is still managed by the DNR.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
We didn't take that over.
sure.
But we have about a half mile in the park, and then we have about a half mile at Smith Lake. We have Salberg and we have Georgetown, and then there's a couple out kind of by the federal there, that connectors
Sure.
as well.
I'll make a motion to approve the WIDNR ATV trail grant resolution then.
Have a motion by Jordan,
I'll second.
second by Michelle.
The now therefore be it resolved says with the approval of the Price County Forestry and Parks Committee, that's what we're doing right now, is approving it.
Correct. We're approving the
Approving.
signature to
Yep.
apply for grants.
Gotcha.
Yep.
We're not approving the spending
Grants.
of money.
Yeah.
That's
For-
part of
Right,
operations.
For the
We-
yearly ATV stuff.
And I should say that every year when you approve the budget, like the maintenance money, that's on there. You'll see in
But-
our budget line, it'll say like $46,000 on ATV money. That's already on, so you are approving that every year as far as that goes. But this allows us to then apply.
This is the yearly maintenance. This is not Joe wants to add a whole new trail somewhere. That's
That's what I was wondering. It says that you can do that though in the development and rehab and
Number 3B, last year was 45,201.88. I assume that was, yeah, because that's 2024's. Right, yeah, on the annual report. That was what last year's was.
All right, have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
I,
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Steve Creek Gravel Pit Shooting Range, and we do have Mr. Pipcorn here to talk, but Joe, you can kind of let us know where we stand exactly right now
Sure.
as far as the grant being turned down.
So we did apply. Last year we talked about this a little bit. We were approached by the Sportsman's Club about doing a shooting range down in the Steve Creek gravel pit. That's down off the corner of County End towards the county line. So I did apply for grants on that. We weren't successful in getting those grants. Then the Sportsman Club came back and said, well, we'd still like to see something down there. And said, we have, 10,000 to pour towards that. So, well, let's bring it to the committee, make sure that's something that we want to do or not. And go from there. So the parts with this range, there is snowmobile trail currently goes through the gravel pit. So that trail would just have to be moved to the other side of it. There's basically the spoil pile from that. There's the other side of the hill. They'd have to go on the other side of that. Would have to be moved. Other than that, a basic range, there's a possibility of doing something there that sometimes it is nice to have something where it's like this one down here on Cranberry Creek, keeps people in one spot shooting rather than every gravel pit and woods road. But so there's benefits that way.
So I guess part of my thought I'll share is that, as we start building on Steve Creek Flowage Dam down there is right there. And I'm certain some materials will come out of our pit right there. At that point, as we're cleaning up that gravel pit, we could potentially create the necessary berms that we need to enhance this area as a spot to shoot.
And this is a permitted pit. Like I do the paperwork for it every year, and this wouldn't be something that would keep us from being able to use that pit. If we're not going to block off the road going to it or not be able to use it, because I wouldn't be in favor of that either, because we got to be able to use our material if we need
Right.
to. So
And would this be something that we would potentially say is open year round, or would we say it's closed during the winter months, or, you know, it's open from what, April 1st to December 1st or something like that, or,
And we can,
or
we
would
can-
it just be,
we can do something like that. We can also, just like over in this other one, you make your berms and you make sure, cause you know, you got town road on each side. You gotta make sure your shooting lanes are safe and your berms are, you know, otherwise we can't set people up for failure. So,
What do we have for a cost? Or do we not know?
Well,
I guess what,
for this, it would be nothing for the county except for our time. Cause we would be involved with this. 'Cause we have to be able
When
to
it was
lay, we have to
originally
be able to lay this out.
brought to us, was it the Sportsman Club? They just were asking for permission to do it, right? County wasn't gonna really spend
we
any
weren't gonna
money on
spend
it.
any money, correct?
Right. And we said, look for funding is what,
Right.
for it.
So we didn't commit to anything as far as I can
Right,
remember.
right. So money wise,
And I guess,
nothing on ours.
And
Whether it matters or
Steve,
not.
Steve is here. He can get up and talk a little bit about what the
No.
club is willing to do.
is the club even in Price County? Or is it technically located in the neighboring county? I can't remember.
Western town, Westboro. Town Westboro,
Yeah,
Taylor.
Steve, why don't you come up here and announce who you are and where you're from and what you're representing? Push the little button there.
There's a button you
There's a
gotta
button
press.
on there. The green light will come on. There you go.
I'm Steve Pipcorn. I'm Vice President of the Westboro Fish and Wildlife Club, which we are in Taylor County, but we're willing to put $10,000 to start, if we can start a range towards in the southern Price County, northern Taylor, it's on that border type deal. There is possibility for opportunity for some other funding from a few local clubs in the Taylor County or Westboro area. We haven't taken anything any further than that till we can get something started. And we were hoping our $10,000 would be able to work towards that.
So, and I guess to address the club is based in Westboro. There's Price County members.
Yes, there's numerous
Well,
Price County
yeah.
members and our park is, our Cooper Dam Park is actually in Price County also, so.
I don't have a problem with it. I just want to be transparent.
Yep. No, and I'm just
And
sharing that.
I don't think it's a bad idea because we've got one up by between Park Falls and Butternut. We've got one down here by Granbury Creek. That's the next logical place for one. So people actually go to a range and shoot safely rather than go out in the woods, like Joe said, and have at her.
and I guess, are we looking to put a bathroom there and like,
Not
or
right now.
just a general open area, just a 20-yard range, say, or in a 50-yard or 100-yard or just 100-yard or like,
something like that. So
Yeah.
we got this, probably the most used ranges or targets here are the 25 and 50. I mean, it's
Sure.
but you wouldn't think that, but that's what's used. So you'd probably do something short, and then, you know, it kind of depends on what you have for funds to be able to do. You know, but usually you'd like to have that 100-yard target because that's
Mhm.
people like to do that, whatever, and then have something short.
Sure.
Maybe there is possibility you could run to that backstop and you could have a 300-yard shot. So, yeah, so there's possibilities where you could do a little bit. Just kind of depends on funding and how long that lasts, kind of deal. But
and you said you applied for a grant that got denied, and how
Yeah.
much was that? What?
I did put 4 shooting shelters and whatever.
Sure.
And so I wrote for 100,000.
Okay.
Yeah. Typically with those grants, because you're not gonna ask for more. So you make sure you put your little bit extra on there. So
Maybe you said this, but what are you looking for today?
committee blessing, I guess, if they want to put money towards they're talking about adding a facility to county land, kind of deal. So I think the committee should say approval of, yes, we want to do a shooting range down there. So
Well, I guess it's a committee committed to any funds at this time, but we will do work in kind already. We already.
we'll be actively involved with this because
We have to be the
be.
responsible
Right,
party.
Yeah,
so
it's-
liability, we need to be.
Yeah, so we'll have time and equipment time in on this for sure.
I would envision this right now at this point with the club willing to spend $10,000 and potentially this would look almost like the shooting range down here did before we got that big grant that
Mhm.
we upgraded stuff. And that would be the hope down the road then. that-
Correct. The nice thing with this is it's already a gravel surface all the way to it, you know, so.
That was, we had matching funds from, who was it?
No,
NRA?
county didn't spend
We
any
didn't
money.
spend any money
No,
on that
yeah.
one.
It was-
That was
it
all
was-
a grant.
It was-
And
NRA and then.
that was like
and then state
150,000 we spent there, wasn't it?
I don't think it was quite that much.
And it was the Friends of the NRA, the local,
Yeah.
not the
Yeah.
whole.
They had money and
Chapter.
they donated, so.
But there's
funds.
what,
No, that's the state.
four,
Yeah, but not it wasn't the,
there's 4 shelters.
What's the club looking at doing with the $10,000? Nothing specific, or do
We
you have
could start
anything
with
specific?
basic, like shooting benches and target holders, and then whatever we needed to do for additional materials.
There's some safety aspects as far as you're supposed to put a fence around your, you know, so basically down there, all the fence is something, so if somebody comes to it from the outside, they know that they're entering a range. So it doesn't have to be a chain link fence. Like down here, we have T-posts with basically rope around it. So there's things like that, just safety wise, that we would, and then yeah, you probably have some berm cost, that kind of stuff as well. And then moving the snowmobile trail there, so there might be additional costs that way too. So
Snowmobile club can maybe help out with that, moving the trail too, right?
yeah, well, they paid for the first one. So if we're doing something different, I think
bit,
that, yeah, that's cost up and be above theirs. So
That's awfully nice. Just saying.
what's
Anyway, I'm good. I'd make a motion to work with
Westboro Fish and Wildlife.
the Westboro Fish and Wildlife Club on getting a range started down at the Steve Creek Flowage. I think it'd be a huge benefit for Price County, especially that area.
Okay, we have a motion by Michelle to give our blessing to start something.
Second.
Second by Patty.
Hold on.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, the difference between adults and children is that you count the costs. We need to know what we're looking at.
So 0. Just
The total mind's eye of everybody though involved that you want to figure it out. I mean, you're talking about the county moving the berms and stuff and the gravel. There's got to be costs and all that.
Well, and again, like I said, if we're gonna take material out of there for
Yeah.
our Steve Creek flowage, which I assume some of it will come out of there,
right.
there's gonna be a contractor in there with a backhoe and a dump truck, and we can kind of coordinate, or Steve can coordinate with Joe on, all right, this is kind of the footprint that we're looking at, and get that work done all at the same time.
He's already got a design, obviously, if you submitted a grant. So
Right.
Right.
A little bit.
That
of
was
one
for a
step,
more
but
elaborate.
Yes.
I mean, we're gonna have, it's gonna be a basic shooting range with a bench
Yep.
and some target holders.
But
so
Jason, would you like to
pretty-
put a dollar amount to it?
you can twist my arm. I might help a little bit.
Hey, would you like to put a
You have my
dollar?
blessing. What?
Yeah.
Would you like to put a dollar amount to it that we contribute?
No, I don't know. I have no.
That's what
idea
I'm, no,
these
that's,
costs. So I have
yeah,
idea.
no, I don't disagree with that. I'm just asking if you think we need to put a dollar amount to it that for the time being,
Not to exceed.
yeah,
Yeah.
And I guess if all we're having is in kind, I'm
in
gonna-
kind still costs though.
In
like
kind
Jason
still
said.
costs.
He's not wrong at that. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. It's, if you want to put a dollar amount to it,
Yeah, show me the
I'm not-
paperwork. I want to see it.
I'm not opposed to that.
Motion is still on the floor to proceed with the,
proceed with the blessing to start the process.
Yeah.
So
technically,
Thought
you're
I
not spending
seconded
any
you
money.
second it,
for-
yeah, we have a motion in a second. We're in the discussion phase now, so I haven't called for the vote yet. So I will do that at this time. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
opposed? All right, so now we can proceed and they can get us some basic
We
rough
need-
estimates and
yes.
Joel can
So,
kind of throw a,
Just to clarify, you guys aren't approving to go forward with the project.
we're approving to start the planning process to a little bit
You
more
may want
formal.
to clarify the motion.
And what costs are we getting? I
Yeah.
guess? What are we looking for? Are you looking for what the cost of our time is in equipment?
Yeah.
That'll be a new one. Usually I'm told we're.
In kind.
It's gonna be- Like the equipment's so that, again, what Joe's trying to say is, like, the equipment's paid for, we don't charge ourselves back. So if he's running a bulldozer for an hour, highway would charge themselves $120 an hour, but it's not a cost to us. It's a cost of wear and tear on the equipment, but it wouldn't be a bill.
You still
We're
need
not
to have a
gonna
value
see-
of the time
Right.
that you think you're gonna have into it, though, I think is what Jason's looking for, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
and just
Are you gonna go down there and spend a week in the dozer, or, I mean, I think that's what you're after, correct? Like,
yeah,
I mean,
but I'd imagine more people would want to get involved and know.
yeah, and like Steve said, once the blessing is there, they have the opportunity to go out and ask
Solicit, yeah.
other local entities, hey, this project we have approval for, would you be willing to donate? I mean, you guys might have a contractor in your back pocket that says, hey, we'll come pour a couple of slabs to put up a building, and another guy that might say, hey, if you can get the lumber donated from viewers to put the shells up, we'll come build the shells,
And
So
there's
like,
a couple
I think there's some
hiccups with
steps.
that kind of stuff, because as a county, we have to follow state statute. So anything over
There
a
it is.
certain amount, anything there's a certain amount, whether it's given to you or not, you have to be careful on.
And like
there's a
Brian said,
bidding process.
transparent.
Yeah, right. But I'm just saying, like, it'd be great if someone said, I'll come and build this and do this, but technically that's over the statutory limit of certain things. Now, one does this and one does that, and as long as we're clear and concise and understand, there's.
So again, I'll go back to, I'm envisioning what the Aspen Lane shooting range was prior to us authorizing money be spent. At some point in time, somebody went down there with a bulldozer, created some berms, created an area to shoot. There were some shooting benches. If this thing expands into something like what that has, we'll come back to the table and say, okay, now we want to spend money, versus the club is willing to spend some money down there with Joe's.
Right. That's what I'm trying to clarify right now is, are we not doing anything until next meeting where Joe brings, like, I'm going to work 100 hours. We're going to have a bulldozer for 20 and then you're approving it? Or are we doing what Jeff just said, where it's like, start getting the work done, clean it up, put the bench, work with them for their benches, things like that? Which one did you guys approve? Because that's not clear.
Right.
What was your motion? Can you read back the motion?
Back to motion.
Okay, so I had motion Drobnik, second Steven, to give blessing to, or I had originally to work with Westboro Fishing and Wildlife Club at getting a shooting range started near the Steve Creek flowage.
So we're starting the process.
I have no idea. I'll follow you guys soon.
Yep, so we're starting the process. Joel can come back and Steve, they can formulate a little bit of a plan, come back to us and we can approve the plan.
Yeah, planning is good. Let's do it.
So we're approving the planning of this to.
So
to
not
start.
necessarily, maybe a ballpark
Right. No breaking
cost on,
ground.
in kind, but just
I guess a simple
outline
layout.
of what's gonna happen going forward, right?
In a simple layout.
Right.
So we'll come with a plan of what
I-
the vision is there, and
Sure.
then we'll come with, okay, this is what we're thinking it's going to take on time.
Sure.
Of course,
And that'll
it's gonna
give
be a
Steve,
rough,
yeah,
it's
that'll
gonna be a
give
rough
Steve
estimate. Of
time
course.
to maybe gather up some more funds besides the 10,000 and you guys can coordinate as to what you feel you can get done with that amount of money.
And Nick can fly the drone over and see how much material we got
I
to
don't
work
have a
with
drone.
and stuff.
I don't have a drone.
Yeah.
Because that's got to be the main cost is material on a shooting pit, I would think.
We're just moving stuff. We're not bringing stuff in.
No, I know.
Right.
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 So we could help substantially.
And again, I'm gonna say when we have the contractors that are there digging dirt out, we can kind of, if we've got a plan and say those spoils that you're throwing there, throw them right here, instead, and work coordination and work together on that. And I think a lot of it can fall into place. But right now, we're just giving approval to Steve and Joel, his department to kind of work together and come up with a plan.
We did this, like you said, on the old Aspen one, I think, was
Right.
it turkeys or whitetail or something?
Whitetails
Was it
did
one of
something.
them kind of disbanded and said, here's X dollars, maintain the shooting backdrop. So it was like that we weren't using our money, we were using donated money. That's kind of what I'm thinking is happening here is you want these backrests, you want these whatever, that's where you're contributing, you're putting, whether we're getting them and you're paying us back, or if you guys have a resource to get them, that's how that would work with the 10,000 is it's a public-private partnership for getting this done.
Okay, we're all clear as mud. So the motion and the second was there. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That's carried.
You got that, I think. The overage.
Work with Joe. Work with Joe.
Very good. Thank you, guys.
Good night, Dave. Annual report. Is that you or is that Nick?
No, well, this is ours. Yeah,
Right.
just put it on file.
Just-
something for you to
Yeah,
look at.
We don't,
Christine.
In the
there's
packet,
no
it's on
motion
file.
needed,
It's
or do we have to accept it?
So you don't want to accept it or
Up in the
anything,
yearly
it's gotta be on
process.
file, right?
Okay.
Yep.
Anything you want to highlight in there?
There's a lot of water in this picture.
Yep. A lot of blue sky in this one.
Water runs downhill.
Yeah,
If it goes up, we got an issue.
Well, there were some charts in here that I thought were interesting. New picture of our pavilion out at Solberg. Do we have the Solberg Park caretaker? Is that Lori? That's current? No.
no, that's for last, because it's a 2024's report, so she was last year.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, what-
she came back and said she wanted a little bit of a raise that I couldn't afford. So she said, well, I'll do it, but it's got to be this amount more. And we ended up putting it in the paper, and we did hire a person. She's got her camper out there and stayed there this weekend. And
Who's the new people?
her name's Jerry.
Jerry?
Yes. Yeah. So we have a Jerry up at Smith Lake and a Jerry at Solberg.
It's just a single lady doing it?
She's married, but
Oh,
mostly
her husband wanted her out of the house for this.
mostly it'll be just her.
Everything else,
Seems pretty excited. So
yeah. Big Falls, Tim's Hill, them are staying the same.
yep, everybody else as far as the caretakers will be
Okay.
same people.
Here's our wood volume harvest. And a couple of good years in there. Just interesting information, I guess. We don't have to dwell on it. Unless anybody had questions for Joe about something.
Joe, were you guys able to work out the issues with that ATV trail and the wetland and stuff?
No, so well, we'll get there, but we have to. The delineation is going to be the 20th.
Oh.
So that'll be that second one where we'll run. We'll run outside of our trail area to show that the wetland goes all the way across, so that we can show that we're in the narrowest place and
Okay.
we're doing the least amount of. So that's going to be May 20th is when he's coming. So once we have that information, that'll be a little bit for them to get their reports back to us, and then we got to get a
Work around it.
well, basically we got to resubmit our permit, or our general wetland fill permit. We'll have to reapply for that, and then they have a certain amount of days, 30 days basically, to respond to that. Otherwise you can presume that it's approved. So
Okay.
so that's kind of where we're sitting. It probably will be, I'm guessing by the time it all ends up happening, it'll be end of summer before we even get to that point where we have a permit, and we should at
Like
this
the
point
bridge
have a
crossing
permit.
on 13.
So you're dealing with a different person, not that same one.
No, it's same one. It's same one. We're slowly.
How about down
figuring
at
it out.
Steve Creek with the wild rice?
So that I just got the email yesterday. The DNR tribal liaison sent a email yesterday to Glyphwick saying that we're moving forward with the plans. As was sent over, and because we received no response, that we're assuming that it's good to go. So that's where we're at on that.
We've moved into department report, by
Yep.
the way.
Parks wise, we got everything's cleaned up for the most part. Water's on. We still got Tim's Hill to turn the water on. Hopefully that works. Few minor repairs type stuff, but nothing out of the ordinary. So that's a good thing. ATV grants, we talked about that, like the Smith Lake Boardwalk that we did apply with the general. I should say Fred did the paperwork for replacing those boardwalks in that little connector trail. So that we'll hear about that later this summer, whether we get that or not. Timber sales, we do have one active one. You guys moved on the other day up on Hicks Landing. Went to the Pine Line meeting. Jeff was there as well. I guess there's some internet lines. So that Pine Line runs from just south of Prentice to the county line. Anytime there's a crossing there, whether it's power or internet, they're supposed to get a permit, and it's like $500 per crossing. So I guess there's somebody running internet down there. So
Spectrum is putting cable in, and they didn't get any permits. So
Yeah,
we're
that's
gonna go after them.
all sorts of money then for each crossing, right?
$500 a crossing.
And that goes to the Pine Line Commission. That money does on that permit. So I got to
Hopefully they don't cross it.
track down that. I guess I did talk to a guy yesterday, and so got to get them the permit information, and then they got to get us a map of where they're going, and we got to see how many crossings, whatever. So
Yeah, and I planned on taking my UTV and going down there once it firmed up a little bit to
Clip the cable.
No,
Oh.
just establish, because they got brought to our attention. I mean, I knew they went across it right in Ogama, but never really paid a lot of attention because I thought aerial, well, it was brought up at the committee meeting that.
Oh, it doesn't matter aerial or underground?
Doesn't matter if it's
Oh.
aerial, because the railroad still technically could come in someday and take it. And they want to make sure all the clearances have been adhered to, and there's permits and records on file, because part of that permit is they have to submit a drawing with their heights maintaining the minimum coverage over a railroad track. So they want all records kept as to if they someday take it back over. So I'm gonna drive it and just look, because I kind of know. I went with Roger out on sea the other day and pointed out a whole bunch of stuff out there that was, I think, eye-opening for him, but yeah, so yeah, they have not gotten any permits. So I'm sure there's probably a dozen or more crossings.
That'll buy a couple loads of gravel for it. On timber sales, Joe, do we have a total where we're at for the year or no? If you don't, that's
no,
fine.
I didn't get a update,
Okay.
monthly update. Carrie probably could fire it over, but we don't.
Pretty far ahead. We just looked at it. I can't.
There's some
Doing well.
outstanding.
I
there's
know
some
you said that
outstanding
we had
bill-
a whole pile of active sales when
Earlier.
two
yeah.
meetings ago when I was.
There's still some billing stuff coming in from winter time too.
Sure.
So,
That's
It was
good.
like 600 and something $1,000, I think, wasn't it?
yeah, it should be about a normal start to the year is what it should be.
That's good.
So, tree planting that started today. Kind of started great. But they are started the crew. They're up by Park Falls this morning. We have we got our Freightliner. We had to make it into a refrigerated trailer because we couldn't find one to rent. So we got 2-inch foam strapped around it. It's good stuff. Ice, anyways, so that started today. They should be done this week, I'm guessing, with the 170 acres of it. So, town of Fifield. So next meeting, they touch base. They need to update the outdoor rec plan because they're putting in 4 new play equipment. They're not part of that outdoor rec plan, so that has to be added in order for them
Oh,
to
at Martinovich, no.
They're putting
yeah
it for new what?
play equipment
At the
Down in here.
playground.
There's a
Oh,
playground
playground
down by
in,
the
in
river.
Fifield by the river there.
Yep. Okay.
So in order for them to apply, they could write their own, or they can just be part of the county. So when we do that every 5 years, I send something out to everybody saying, hey, if you want to be part of this, just let us know. And it doesn't even have to be, it can be just your dream project. It's not like it's saying you're going to do it, but in order to get funding through the state, through those grants, you do need to have that in there. That's a
To be
requirement.
qualified to apply for the grant, you have to be on
Correct.
our outdoor rec plan.
So that'll next meeting, we'll talk about that. And add that in. Also, next meeting, I'm going to bring in just an idea as far as Sahlberg. We're adding those sites. They are going to have sewer water at each site. Do we want to look at long-term camping rates? Like a monthly rate or a 2-month rate, 3-month rate type deal. A lot of places do that. Probably be beneficial to us if we allow for that, just for some guaranteed money, and also then we're making money on that new campground offer something a little bit different versus the $30 a day. We won't get as much that way. So just something to look at. So I'll bring in some camping rates and whether we want to move forward with some kind of long-term rates to allow for
On that new addition.
Yeah, we
Right.
talked about the things that we probably won't have for next one is like, what if it's super popular, right? You have only 15 sites that you're going to do it with, and there's 40 people. Is it a lottery? Is it a bidding process? Is it a
I think
Like-
if 40 people want to take 40 sites, I think we
Take it.
take your money and run.
so those aren't? I
Hate
don't
to
think
say
we'll
that,
be,
but
I don't think we'll be at that level of detail. It'll just be more
well, I
just
think
a process that we want to do. Here's what we'd recommend, and then if we run into other issues, it's
Would that require a public hearing to do that long-term
no.
rental type? Cause
We
I
already-
could see Comfort Cove having an issue with
We,
it.
we already changed. We already did change our ordinance, the county ordinance, to allow for that
longer
time frame.
stays, yeah.
So we can do that within our
Okay.
ordinance currently.
All right.
Whether
I think we
whether
need
wanna
to
change
see what their
we're
rates
doing.
are at Comfort, and I mean, you go what their rates are. I just, you can't go $25 cheaper because you're going to have people move from there. So you go with what their rate is, and if people want to move, or if not, then that's what it is. So
if you have a
the
high
one-
demand product, you
Yeah.
could go more. I
The
mean,
the one thing though that we will, like, their Comfort Cove allows them to keep their camper there. We're not going to allow that. They got to pull it out at
Sure.
the end of the year. They can't. We're not a storage
Right. Yep.
facility,
Right.
so
Yep.
not a
so there is a
trail park.
difference there. They're offering a different product. than
Yep.
what
No,
we are.
I know. Yeah.
And they have like semi-permanent structures, some of them too,
Yeah.
which I would recommend the county
Yeah.
allow.
No.
When Joe and I talked, we talked about, like the semi-permanent structures, that wouldn't be something on there. And then we also need to discuss long-term is if I had a camper and I put it out there, can I VRBO it? Can I rent it out?
That was
Cause
my
it's my
question.
canter or camper. So there's a lot of little rules we need to review and think about. Part of it is we just got to get it established and then we can work through the problem.
You could do that by your place. You guys are in the middle
My
of
mind
nowhere.
was, isn't there zoning laws where you can't live in a camper on your own property for more than so many weeks?
No, there's like if I own a 40 and I put in a camper, there is a permitting process. I can't remember if it's like 45 days or 50, but there, Evan knows that. This would not fall under
Applicable.
that. Yeah, I know. You can live in a camper all you want. It's
I know the assessor. has
Or
got
build a
s-
tiny home and spend
Yeah.
twice as much as people do on a camper, and
It
you have
comes
the
down to-
same exact amenities.
it comes down to
Yeah.
like fire number. So like if I on my property, if I have a fire number, I can use a camper there. We have a fire number out there, so that's not an issue.
Not just like I said, I think we need to align with what their numbers are, just
Long
so that
term,
we're
you
not
can
having.
stay if there's a fire number.
Yeah, again, clarify with Evan, but I know like we'll see campers out and about and it'll be like on somebody's 40. If there's not a fire number, it's has to be moved every 30, I want to say it's 30 or 60 days.
Something like that, yeah.
And it doesn't mean you pull it 5 feet forward and it's moved. It's has to be removed and brought back kind of thing. So, and then once you put a fire number, then it changes the ordinance or the rules. I can get that for you if you want.
I know the assessors have issues with it. Cause once
Well, personal
they
property
put
went away.
power in there and they have a power meter sitting alongside their camper, I know our assessor is really cracking down on it, saying you haven't moved this camper and you've got power and.
You have Cindy down there?
What, yes, and water hookup. We're no longer gonna treat you as a trailer. It's
Yeah.
gonna,
Like there's ordinance for that. There's rules. We send out lots of letters every year.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say a lot. We send out letters each year.
anything else, Joel, you wanna share with us in your department update?
No, I think we're good.
Don't need anything new?
Do you have an update on your new truck? When that's coming?
Me.
Of which year?
25, 26, 27?
No,
Does
they
May
said
turn-
May. I haven't called on it.
I was
though
just
either.
curious because you did order that, right? Or we ordered that a while
It's,
ago.
the last update I got was coming this month. So.
There's still 25 days.
Oh yeah, we got a key
Just-
for it
just
though.
started,
Oh, you've
Jordan.
got a key.
Yeah, we do have a key. Yes, yeah. It's
Well, let's go pick it up. Where's it at? Like,
Is that coming through the highway department? Was it ordered through there or it was ordered
No.
separate?
no, I did the
You did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
no, but they did help.
Roger helped you put the bid together on it, right?
No,
Or
Dan.
Dan, I
Dan
mean,
was
yeah.
very helpful. Yes.
Good.
Yep, Dan was very helpful.
So nothing else from Joel? Okay, financial report, I guess. So we don't have a number on the stumpage, so. Yeah, all right. Okay, well, let's move on to vouchers. We'll do them this month, last month's and this month's. I think they all went around already. Has anybody got questions on the vouchers or? If not, Michelle makes a motion to approve both months vouchers.
Second.
Patty seconds. All those in favor? All right,
I'm going to abstain as I have invoices in there.
understood. All right, motion carried. We will then adjourn. See you on June 3rd. Yeah, I'm old.